Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Maurice Brown Show. We have a comedian scheduled for you this hour at 12 noon from Miami, Florida, Fasil Malik. And Fasil is running late, so we're going to just troop on through until Fasil can join us on the broadcast. He is a comedian from Miami, Florida, and he's got creds over the years, including 2016 Coral Gables Comedy Festival winner, 2017 inaugural Coconut Grove Comedy Festival winner, a semifinalist for the 2014 Florida's Funniest Comedian Contest, and at 2018 he was in the top 101 of the world's best comics. I think that was the World Series of Comedy, and also a three-time finalist in the 2015, 2017, and 2019 Ultimate Miami Comedian Contest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show the very funny and the very talented Fasil Malik. What's up, Fasil? How are you, buddy?
Hi, Maurice. I'm doing well. I love the intro. I need to hire you to be my publicist.
Well, I tell you, man, you got some accolades going there, bro. That's for sure, man. I'm pretty impressed. Definitely a good comedian. It's hard to get to those spots where you're like a winner and even a finalist or in the semifinals consistently. Yeah, that's good stuff, man. I mean, that's definitely something to be pretty proud of. Now, right now, the pandemic has slowed everybody's roll, Fasil. But I hear that in Miami, they're starting to kind of open the clubs back up.
Yeah, that's true. They're having shows in Miami, socially distanced outside. The Improv is open back up. Miami Improv, Miami Comedy, run by Manny Garavito's having shows, and yeah, things are slowly but surely starting to pick back up.
So what is the scene like? I imagine you have been out and you've done some comedy. I mean, what's the scene like? I mean, what does it feel like now, and what does it look like?
Now it's different. It's so everyone's wearing masks, obviously, which is great. I think it's two groups of people. There are people that are very conservative and cautious, and there are people that don't care. And you see that mix at a lot of different shows. But for the most part, you could be safe by staying 6 feet away and wearing a mask. I mean, the shows are fun. People are laughing. They need comedy in these times that we're in. And
Yes.
there's a lot more Zoom shows as well that I've started doing.
You know, it's kind of funny when you said that there are some wearing masks, some not wearing masks. And I mean, it's all good. You can do whatever you want. I was in the grocery store recently and everyone in line had their mask on except this one lady who was getting her food checked out. She didn't have a mask on and she wanted everyone to know she wasn't going to wear a mask, you know, with the eyeball, you know, the stares and everything. I'm like, man, do what you do, you know. I mean, I don't care, but you know, people kind of you got so many weird reactions from people during this pandemic, man. It's like, and let me just say this, Fasil. I mean, people can do whatever they want to do, no question. But I mean, we got to follow the protocols as best we can. I mean, we're not going to get out of this situation unless people just start going, you know what? I'm going to comply. I'm going to stay socially distanced, yada, yada, yada. Because you look over in Italy, they're like kind of almost back to normal. So I don't know. What's your take on all this stuff, Fasil?
I agree with you completely, Maurice. If it's just following the rules, if everyone wears masks, then the spread won't be as strong and it'll start going down. And then they could start having those big parties. But see, certain groups of people don't want to do it. So we have to protect ourselves and just use our proper judgment to try to avoid them. I have a feeling that things will get better once there's a vaccine. I mean, we can still have fun. We just have to be responsible is my gut feeling in terms of this pandemic. But there are positives that have come out of this pandemic as well.
Yeah, there are, man. You know, it's so many things going on right now. I mean, like, it's tough. COVID-19 is tough, you know, but my wife did inform me of great news recently, Fasil. She said, honey, get this, Fasil. She said, honey, we have enough money for the rest of our lives.
What? How?
Well, she said, we just have to die tonight.
Oh, that's funny.
By 10 p.m. We got to be out of here. But anyway. Now, it's not that bad, Fasil, but it's do you have a prediction when this thing's going to kind of get kind of back to, do you think comedy is going to look the same, or is it going to be different forever?
I think it's going to be different. My gut feeling is, I'm hoping, I'm not a doctor, obviously. I know I look like one, but my gut feeling is, my gut feeling is the vaccine's going to come mid next year.
Yeah.
Where people will safely take it. And then when they take it, then things will get better. I think comedy, people want to see comedy. They want to laugh. They're probably sick of watching Zoom shows at this point. So when comedy clubs open back up full force, Miami and West Palm Beach are actually open full force. But when other places are open full force, they're going to really enjoy and appreciate comedy, and it'll get better for all of us.
I'm going to be there during Thanksgiving down in Miami. My brother-in-law lives down there, and I know Carlos Hernandez, Victoria Fernandez, and some other comics down there. Manny Garavito. I was down there in February, and I had a ball. Miami is one of the best places to do stand-up comedy that I've ever been in, because everybody's in a festive, partying mood. They're not angry. They're having too much fun to be angry about anything in Miami. So you know how it is when you go to a comedy club, dude. But if people are grouchy and, they're just kind of moody or whatever, you got your work cut out for you. And I'm in Washington, D.C., man. And everybody's mad in D.C. Donald Trump lives down the street. We got the election coming up. We got all these politicians up here. It gets cold this time. So when you go in there, man, you really got to be on your A game. So in Miami, it wasn't that difficult, man. So I can't wait to get back down there, man, and start doing some comedy with you guys. I mean, heck, when you go in, though, it's not like people are packed into these rooms, though. They are distanced or spread out, right?
In some places, they are distanced and spread out. But in our governor has actually allowed things to remain full capacity.
Wow.
So there,
okay.
Yes. I'm not going to name these places, but there are some places where they're seated as normal, but they wear a mask when they get up.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just we'd have to use our proper judgment and then stay in the back, stay away from these people when you're in these venues. But they're doing the best they can to make it safe. But I feel like businesses don't want to lose money with a 50% capacity. So that's why some businesses aren't doing it like that. But yeah, you'll have fun. I mean, the people there in Miami are there for they want to have fun, they're partying, or they want to laugh.
Yeah.
So you'll have a diverse crowd, and a diverse crowd is how you can tell if your material is funny or not. So those are benefits of doing comedy in Miami.
No question. Fasil, I introduced you, and you got a number of accolades on your record. How did you get started in comedy?
I first started doing stand-up comedy because I love watching movies with Jim Carrey. I know he was not a true comedian, but when he started, he was a true comedian. And that was my role model. And I heard he did improv. So I tried improv. And then I realized the thing with improv is you could get the laugh, but then a person could step on the laugh and then try to ride the wave of your laugh. And it just, I don't know. I just wanted to do comedy. And plus, women love guys that are funny. And I was like, you know what, let me try it out. And I realized that it helps people having a stressful day, laugh, have fun, forget their worries. So that's why I started doing comedy and why I enjoy doing it.
You mentioned Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey actually started out as a guy that did impressions as he was doing stand-up. That's all he did was impressions, and then he realized that he needed to actually write some jokes. And then somehow he ended up transitioning. He did a couple of bad movies, and then he ended up in Living Color, and that's when he took off. That's when he just went into the stratosphere after he hit as the comedic improv sketch comic on that show was wildly funny. But Jim Carrey, he's a great role model. I mean, you're not going to see anyone that comes up with more facial expressions than Jim Carrey. He's a sick dude, man. But so what do you think about doing comedy on Zoom? Have you done any Zoom shows?
Yes, I've done plenty of Zoom shows. I've produced my own monthly show. And what I've learned is Zoom is tricky. It's you could tell the funniest joke and you'll get a tepid laugh. It doesn't mean it's not funny. It's just you just have to keep doing it in front of different crowds. and then you'll gauge it out. But to me, doing a Zoom show is like lifting a 50-pound weight. It's hard, but when you do live comedy, it just makes it so easy. The struggle that you went through with Zoom. And plus, you save thousands of dollars on doing Zoom comedy. You save thousands of dollars on cologne if you do Zoom comedy shows.
Yeah. Well, the thing about the Zoom shows is, you do get into the rhythm of it. It's a rhythm for sure that you have to adjust to, because a lot of times it's like a 2-second delay. You deliver the punch, and then they get 2 seconds later, they will laugh. Maybe 3 seconds later, they will laugh. That's just kind of the rhythm of it, as opposed to doing it live. It's like immediate. And so it's kind of, hard to get used to that. But then you do get used to it, and you go from there. And I think that virtual comedy is probably, Fasil, here to stay. I think we're going somewhere new and different with entertainment. I don't think that we'll stop going out to the venues and doing live. I don't think that will stop, but I do believe an element of it will change. But what's happening now, this is a wave, Fasil. The virtual platform is a wave, and I think we just need to catch it. We're reluctant. It's like, I don't want to do it, but I realized, hey, you know what? This is kind of where it's going. And so it would be worth your while to just force yourself to get into the groove and rhythm of it, and, start producing shows and do all that stuff. So I think this is kind of where we're going. Now, I'm a clean comic, and I run into a lot of comedians out there, of course, that are not, which is fine. You do what you do. But I noticed that you're also a clean comedian as well. Why do you perform clean, Fasil?
So the reason why I perform clean is because it's my personality. It's not in me to talk dirty or curse. So if I was to do that on stage, it would make it more awkward than I already am. So I don't want to take that to the next level. And then also, I want to mention your point about virtual is here to stay. That I agree with you completely. If you're not going virtual,
good point, Marcus.
Yeah, if you're not going virtual and you're thinking, it's like saying, I want to stick with MySpace because I'm scared of Instagram. You're not going to catch your audience unless you try Instagram.
Exactly. You're not. I mean, you can go kicking and screaming, but you got to go if you want to make it. Yes. And so it just is what it is, man. I mean, this is where it's going. Marcus Brown said that his hybrid comedy coming soon, and virtual comedy is eliminating some middlemen, in my opinion. What do you think about that, Fasil?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with virtual comedy. You don't have to beg bookers to be on their shows. You can just run your own show, and there you go. You have your own show.
Yeah, well, I mean, and listen, and then you get to meet comedians all over the world. I've got, comedy friends now in Canada and Italy, and, there are people from the Philippines that follow this show and stuff. I mean, I'm just meeting people that I've never been able to, I would never have met before. And I can do a show anywhere in the world, which you couldn't have done before. It's a whole new, actually better world that we're about to evolve into with this virtual platform. And somebody said the other day that, I've finally done comedy, on the virtual platform. But I'm like, you haven't done comedy. You haven't. You have no idea what real stand-up comedy is. You know what I mean? And it's fun. I mean, it's a platform where if you want to try it, it's okay. You can try it to see what it's like. But this is not stand-up comedy. It's not.
You could read things off of a piece of paper here and elicit laughs. If you go on stage on a book show, you better not be reading things off of a piece of paper, or people are going to feel they're getting ripped off. So you're right.
You know what, dude? There's so many elements to stand-up comedy. It's like taming lions. You get up there and you have to control the entire room. If you want to walk out with any type of dignity or integrity, you have to tame them. You have to tame them. And so this platform is absolutely nothing like it. And, but, it's fine. I think, like I said, this is where we're going. Marcus says, but now I can't get out of the house all night and away from the wife and kids.
That's good. You get to spend more time with them.
You get to spend more time with them, Marcus. So, I mean, I actually, what Jessica Alba said the other day? I had to leave. I can't stand my family anymore. And she just took off. And some people, the pandemic brings out some interesting personalities, doesn't it, Fasil?
Oh, absolutely. You deal with deal with people that are depressed and some suicidal. But to me, it'll end. We'll get back to normal. We just have to grind through it.
Oh yeah, you just got to grind through it. I mean, it's definitely not that bad. What is the most challenging type of crowd for you to perform in front of, Fasil?
I think the most challenging type of crowd to me is a crowd that can't relate to me. I remember doing a show. It was an all urban show. Normally I've done well, but I made a joke about Steve Harvey. And once you make fun of Steve Harvey, they started talking during my set even louder.
Oh,
and
wow.
It got harder. And I think they were high too at this point. And so wasn't really able to get the attention that I normally would in the past. So that was the most challenging type of crowd that I performed in front of.
So you were doing well until you mentioned Steve Harvey. Is that correct?
Yes, I made a joke about Steve Harvey. I'm like, they don't love Steve Harvey, they adore him. And then I don't know, they thought I insulted Steve Harvey, and now I have a tag for that just so I cover myself because now I go black.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to understand where the disconnect came in because you said that. Because, a lot of, it's really funny. A lot of black guys don't like Steve Harvey.
Okay, but good. That's what I thought.
A lot of black guys don't like Steve Harvey. I like Steve. I think he's funny, but there are a lot of black guys that don't like him. But I think what happened to you in this case, Fasil, you were like, you came into an urban room, and you are a guy of Arabic descent,
yes.
Not black. And so what you did was, this is how they took it, which is interesting. They're like, you can't talk about any of the brothers and sisters. You can't do it. What you have to do, and this as a comic, it's like you have to literally win the room. Mm-hmm. Like you can't just be doing okay or doing well. It's like you have to come in there. You got to win the room, and then you get permission to kind of talk about some things because of the urban room. It's a very sensitive room.
Yes.
And so if you come in as a person that is not black and you say something that's even a little bit off-putting, you're done.
No, I think the way I said it caused it too, because with comedy, the way you say things, people perceive in a different way. So I must have said it in a sarcastic way. They adore him. I think that's what put him off. But yeah, you're right. It's like you gotta love him. You gotta have him in your fist before you can talk about things like that.
But yeah, exactly. And every room has it. Like in DC, there are all types of rooms up here, man. You got elite white rooms, you got urban rooms, you got Latino rooms, you got mixed rooms, you got low grade rooms, elite rooms. It's just all kind of stuff. So then you learn how to kind of adjust your sets as you go. I did a joke about blackface at this elite room of demographic was 25 to 35. They were all Republicans, and I was making jokes about Governor Ralph Northam, who got caught up in the blackface scandal here in Virginia. And dude, you could have heard a pin drop.
Wow.
Oh man, I was like, oh my gosh. And I had just done the set at another room the night prior, and it killed. But it was a mixed room. It was mostly Latino and urban.
Yeah, I'm surprised because isn't he Democrat?
So, and it just fell right off the table like a rock, man. And so there are rooms, all types of rooms you have to kind of learn how to adjust to because people are really sensitive, man. So and then you learn from it. You go, I'm going to come back next week and I'm going to do the same joke, but I might do it in a different way. But that being said, Fasil, all the accolades that you've established over the years in comedy, how long did it take you to establish a voice?
I think it takes at least 5 years to do it, and you still don't get a voice. I mean, the way I do it is I just find out what's funny, and then when I find out what's funny, like my sarcasm or the one-liners or the dry delivery, I'll replicate that, and then I'll do more of that, and then I'll keep getting laughs, and then that's the style that I will develop. I just keep doing it and just building up on what's funny. I'm curious about your joke about the blackface joke, by the way.
Well, I said, I said Governor Ralph Northam admitted that, he did it. He did it. I admit it. I was at a frat house party. We were sitting around, things were getting kind of crazy. We were partying, and, I decided to go to a party dressed as the lead singer of Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, right? So, if you're from that era, I don't even know if you're familiar with that rap group from the 80s or not. But, I was just kind of making jokes that they were around the frat house. They were smoking dope. They got a little crazy. And he decided to dress up like Grandmaster Flash. And it was really funny at the Urban Room. I don't know what it was, but they were laughing their heads off at this joke. And that's pretty much all I said. I said, and it's been so long since I told that joke. I actually haven't told it in a couple of years. Well, about a year and a half, because people were getting so angry with it. I said, I'm going to leave it alone. But that's pretty much all I was saying. I was just saying, it wasn't a big deal. Yeah, I did it. I dressed in blackface, and, I was just partying with the frat guys. Things got a little crazy.
Is he Republican though? This governor?
Man, gosh, Ralph.
He's not,
dude. I don't even know if the guy's a freaking Democrat or Republican, to be totally honest with you. But I thought it was funny. He got caught, and the Attorney General got caught wearing blackface in the 80s as well, I think in a college yearbook. And it was a huge scandal in Virginia. Yeah. It was a huge scandal. And that's when I started talking about or telling the joke. And it's a political town, Washington, D.C. You can lose people really quickly if you don't, if they feel like you're attacking their character. Like, you can't talk about. You ever make jokes about homosexuals?
Not really, but go ahead. I don't really. I do one-liners and I talk about myself for the most part. But yeah, I haven't. Why? What happened with that?
I don't either. But I was telling a joke once where my wife had an experience. She was driving on the interstate. There was an accident, and she was telling me about this dude that was walking around or running around in a fishnet shirt. So I got booked to do a show, and I told the story, right? And yes. I forget what the punchline was, but the whole room laughed at it. And the booker came onto the stage. Get this, Fasil. She came onto the stage, and she whispered, I need for you to apologize. You just offended my nephew. He's gay.
Oh, my gosh.
I go, okay. Okay, yeah, I'll apologize. And I kept doing the set. For some reason, it didn't bother me as far as my set. I just continued. But after the show, everyone came up to me and they were like, dude, you didn't have to apologize. That joke was funny. And the problem is the guy had on a fishnet shirt, and I never saw him, Fasil.
Yeah.
The guy had on a fishnet shirt, so he thought I was attacking him. I never even knew he was in the venue.
Exactly.
And he's gay. Well, I didn't know you were gay. I didn't even know that the guy that was wearing the fishnet shirt, I never even said he was gay. I forget what the story was, but it was funny, and the whole room laughed. We live in a time, Fasil, of political correctness.
Yes.
And it's so easy to lose a crowd because you have all these groups out here and all these agendas that are going on, and you just step on people's toes. And a lot of times you don't even know that you've stepped on anybody's toes. And if you go back to the 80s and the 70s, that's when comedy was at its best. you know, because you could practically say almost anything on stage and kill. You had Richard Pryor, you had George Carlin, you had Steve Martin, you had Robin Williams, you know, came about around about that time during the 80s. You had Saturday Night Live with Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray and Jane Curtin and Gilda Radner, Garrett Morris. You had Eddie Murphy, Joe Piscopo. I mean, that was an awesome era of comedy. Fasil, they talked about everybody and their mama. And it was hilarious. Nobody got mad. You know why? Because it's just a joke. It's just a joke. You know, if you're going to get mad, don't go to a comedy show. Just stay home. You know, but we're here to have fun. And just like you alluded to earlier, that's why we do comedy, so people can forget about the normal stresses of the day. You know?
Exactly. I thought it was rude of her to go up to you, whisper in your ear that he was offended. She should have talked to him and told him it was a joke.
Well, you know what? She paid me the money. She paid me well, and I'm like, okay. I did not let it bother me, man. I've never seen that though. I've never seen that happen to anybody before in comedy.
Wow.
It really did happen, dude. Do you have any advice for new comics? I was talking about some new guys are coming out now on the virtual platform. I did comedy, you know, what have you. But do you have any advice for new comics?
I do. If you're a new comic and you really want to just find out if it's something you want to do, because it's you're staying up late at night, you're waiting to go up. When you first start, you're not going to get the laughs that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And it's going to take you time to build up to get laughs and be comfortable. So if you're into it, just realize you're going to lose friends, because that's when you're going to do comedy, is when you and your friends usually hang out nights and weekends. It's going to be tough on relationships, but to me, there's no better feeling in the world than the sound of genuine laughter, which is why I do it. And if you get that feeling as well, then you should pursue it full steam and to go above and beyond, because the comedians that just do it half-heartedly, they're going to stay in the open mic realm where they're not going to get paid, and they're just going to be saying the same 5 minutes forever. So just keep going at it, and then building yourself up, and don't even beg for opportunities. When you're good, people will tell you, and then you'll take it from there. Also, listen to local comics' advice. I mean, some of it's not the best, so use your best judgment. Yeah. But if they want to help you out, and if it sounds good, listen to it, try it out, and then just take it from there. So that's my advice to new comics.
And it's great advice. I mean, you got to go after it, man. You got to get on stage as much as you possibly can. You have to write as much as you get. And that's one of the problems with a lot of comics, particularly young comics, because, you know, when you said they're always telling the same 5 minutes, you know, because they're lazy. You don't write. You've got to write a lot. That's the only way you're going to expand your material and get better, is to get up there and just bomb. Oh, these jokes aren't good. Okay, well, I got to rewrite it, try it a different way, because you could be sitting on gold. You're just not telling it the right way, and you have to rewrite it and tell it a different way, because the reason you wrote it is because you thought it was funny. But you have to keep mining it until you find the true funny in the joke. And a lot of comics are lazy. You know, and they just want to get high, and they just want to drink, and they just want to use lewd language because their buddies think they're funny, but nobody else thinks they're funny. You know, and you're not going to make it that way. Also, as a clean comic, I tell guys that use a lot of profanity, it's like, okay, fine. If that's what you want to do, just know you're not going to do that set on Stephen Colbert. You're not going to do that set on Jimmy Kimmel or Seth Meyers or Conan O'Brien or Jimmy Fallon. You're not going to do it. You know why? Because if you think that Bill Burr will do the sets that you watch and idolize on Jimmy Fallon, you're dead wrong. Bill Burr can do a clean set like that.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart can do a clean set at the drop of a hat. All of these comics that use profanity can do clean sets any time of the week. So I try to tell these guys, look, man, develop yourself and work at it, and start doing some clean stuff too. Because if you're really serious about making it, you're going to have to do these things, or like you just said, Fossil, you're just going to be on the open mic set for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I mean, clean's hard to do. It's hard to use that imagination, but everyone has it in them, and that intelligence and creativity will take you to another level. So, good point, Maurice.
Now, what do you do when you're doing your show and we got the heckle mania stuff starting up? How do you deal with hecklers, Fossil?
I had that recently. I was telling a joke, and a woman's like, "Oh no, I wouldn't go out with you." And so I replied, "Oh, I'm so disappointed, and like that my life was dependent on it." I was super sarcastic, and the crowd was laughing, and then she was quiet. So you kind of got to have it where the crowd's on your side, and then like, okay, so let's say people are talking. All right, guys, clap it up if you want them to shut up.
Yeah.
And then the whole crowd will clap so they can't talk, obviously, because it's all claps. And then they're looking at me and I'm like, you see, I'm not the only one that wants you to be quiet. And then they stop or they'll walk out. So either way, you can still do your show. So those are little tricks that I use to get the crowd to quiet down. There are instances where they'll not shut up at all. And in that instance, you just have to power through with the jokes and make them laugh. But that rarely happens.
Yeah, it does. That kind of that's what you call, I guess, I don't know if I would say unintentional heckling, but when you get like a table of people that's like they're just there to do them in the midst of a comedy show, like they're just going to do them. And they're wrecking the night for all the comics because they won't stop doing them. Right. So you try to attack them a couple of times and hit them, and they may or may not stop. It depends on how far you're willing to go. Every now and then you have to, and it's very rare that you have to power through that. But there are comics that will destroy you if you do that during their set. And they're pros at destroying hecklers to the extent where those people may never go to another comedy show. I saw one pro comic just destroy a table, and he made his whole set about the table, and he killed. He just killed, and I don't think they could have felt any lower. But most of the time, hecklers are people that are excited and they think they're helping you. They've been drinking and they think they're helping you. And you go, oh, yeah, you know what, dude, you're right. But there's more. Check this out. You're going to love it. And they'll kind of sit down because you gave them their 5 seconds of attention. I helped. And they'll be quiet, right? Or they want to hear what the punchline is because, you're really not affected by their talking. And then they become interested in, okay, man, well, wow, what is he going to say? But every now and then you do get dedicated heckler. And it really hasn't happened to me very often. I think one time a guy tried to charge the stage. This black guy got mad at me. And I said, everybody calm down. It's okay. After the show, we're going to go chase Pokemon. It's okay. And everybody laughed and he was embarrassed and he sat down. And I didn't have to be mean about it. But you're right. If you let a heckler get under your skin, then you lose the audience.
Exactly.
Yeah. You cannot allow them to make you emotional. You know what I mean? You can't get angry.
You're right. You're right.
To keep your composure and like sometimes it gets to the point, it's very rare where you might even have to power through your set. But I like what you said though, Fasil. You've got to have something in a few things in your toolbox in case a heckler shows up. Every comic's kind of got some type of method if that goes down. What's your worst bombing experience, Fasil?
My worst bombing experience was doing an urban room once again. It was it was opening up for a big name in front of 2,600 people. It was one of my first times going on stage.
Wow.
And they just like to talk. They weren't there for me. They were there for music. And
okay.
I tried telling jokes and I got booed in 3 minutes. And then they put the curtain. Yeah, that was my worst.
You know what? So how bad was it really, Fasil, for you?
It was tough to have to go through that. I'm not used to a crowd wanting jokes every 5 seconds. It just I learned from it though. I learned that you have to always be prepared, always take your time and then come with your best stuff. Don't in a book show, don't ever try new material unless you're very confident, and you could maybe throw one or two new jokes in the middle, but always have a good joke to come back in case it doesn't get a laugh. So
Yeah.
I learned a lot from that and grow from it.
Yeah, you know the thing about I think you're a storyteller. I like to tell stories, but you have to get the audience's permission to tell a story. So that means you got to go boom, 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 hit them with 2 or 3 really quick ones that get them laughing, and now they're kind of loosened up and they like you and they're willing now to listen to your story. You know what I mean? But you can't come in there cold and tell a story. A lot of times, especially if you're doing a big show like the one you were doing, it's like, because especially at a concert where they come to see a band, they're the most difficult audiences to deal with because they want to see the band. They don't want to see you. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, you're making them mad because they want to see the band now. And so you're going uphill. Has a come at a buddy of mine. He bombed in front of, he opened up for a rap group at a big arena. And man, they were there to get the rap. It was mean rap too, dude. And he came out there, Fasil. And man, the first joke, it went pretty good. And he said, "Oh man, I got him now, right?" And every joke he told after that, dude, fell right off the table. And he bombed royally. And what was really bad was, in order to get off the stage and just out of there, he had to walk through the crowd.
Oh my gosh, that's embarrassing.
To get out, he couldn't just go backstage. I don't know what the setup was. I forget why he had to do that, but that was the only way he could actually leave the stage, is to walk through the crowd. And he said when he was walking out, he overheard some girls saying, "He was so bad." He overheard it, right? He said it was so bad, Fasil, that he had to see a psychiatrist. He had to get therapy for that. That one blew his mind. But I want to ask you, how do you deal with the bombing experience? Are you able to brush it off immediately, or does it take you a couple of days to get over?
I just analyze it. I see what's the matter with the joke. I don't take it personally anymore. I'm like, I see what's with the joke. How could I improve it? Is it legitimately bad, or was it the crowd? I think sometimes it can be the crowd. And then I just grow from it. Was he was a good comic, right? Your friend?
Yeah. Very good comic. Very good.
Exactly.
Well, bombing is never out of play, Fasil. No matter how good you are. Now, of course, it decreases tremendously the better you get at it. I mean, like a Jerry Seinfeld or a Kevin Hart, somebody like that. Chances are not likely they're going to bomb, but it's still in play. Like,
absolutely.
Jerry Seinfeld has talked about, bombing recently. He was at the Smithsonian, and the acoustics of the room was terrible. And he didn't even want to do it. It's like, this is going to be bad. And he bombed. Jerry Seinfeld. He bombed. So as a comic, you just have to be prepared that it could be the night that it happens, and you got to be ready to deal with it. And keep it moving, and then, like you said, you got to learn from it too. It's like, okay, mark down, okay, why did that happen? And getting back to Seinfeld, he's just said that there are just some gigs you just don't take. You're just not going to do it. So you learn a lot of different things. So it doesn't really stay on your mind for too long. You're pretty much able to kick it out of your system, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I just learned from it. It's like, just even when trying to go out with a woman, she rejects you. I don't overanalyze that. I'm like, okay, it's not the right woman. She's not the right woman. I'm gonna try with someone else. It's the same thing with bombing for me.
Yeah. Bombing is a tough experience, dude. I had a buddy of mine also. He went up there, and he was I guess he was trying to do jokes, but he said he was bombing for 10 minutes, and he looked at his best friend that came to see him, and he said his friend's face looked like he was witnessing an execution. He jumped when it was over. He jumped off stage and he sprinted to the bathroom, and he cried his eyes out, man. And I think a veteran comic came in and tried to give him some advice how to get out of a spot like that or whatever, and talk them back up. But it's tough, man. Being comedy's a daredevil act, Fossil. Really, to be honest with you, it's like I always get the feeling that before I go on stage, I'm gonna be Evel Knievel and jump over 20 cars. I get the adrenaline is just like so high because you go, but the thing is, you can't keep doing it if you don't love it. If you don't love this game, dude, you won't stick around. And for me, I just kind of brush it off if it happens. I'm like, okay, well, that was bad. What did I do wrong? It's okay, never do that again or what have you. And sometimes a person can make you angry. Fossil, dude, I went to a show and the booker of this show, he made me angry. It was an open mic. I just went in. I was the first guy there, and I said, hey, man, I'm here. I know you're busy. Just to let you know, I want to get on tonight, and I'm going to be over here in the corner. Just let you know I'm here, right? Because when the list comes out, you want to be. I like being first.
Exactly.
I like being at the top of the list. So anyway, about 20 minutes later, I noticed that the list was going around. There were like 10 comics all over the list. And I got angry with the dude. I'm like, I never get angry at mics. Right. And I said, I'm going to go home. If this guy doesn't have me in the top 10, I'm going to go home. And he ended up calling me 9th, which was insulting enough. I should have gone home because now I'm mad. Right. And I get on stage mad. Like I can't get this dude out of my head. And I bombed. Because I was so focused on, the insult of it. You know what I mean? It's like, so, okay, note to self, if I ever get angry again, just go home.
Yeah, it's true.
I can't get over this one. And there's no need for me to go on stage. I don't even want to do comedy now. That hardly ever happens, but that's what I learned from that particular experience that, if that ever goes down, it ain't worth it. It's just a stupid open mic. So if that's, I can go home and come out tomorrow and go get some sleep. But you're right. You learn a lot of different things. How do you deal, Fossil, with the nerves and the butterflies before you go on?
Yeah. So before I talk about how I deal with the nerves and butterflies, about this guy, if he respected you, he could have. He was running the mic. He could have put you up first. He could just put a pen and put yourself up first. He made a mistake. It was his fault for not putting you on the list. So I don't blame you for getting upset at that. Okay, so now in terms of dealing with nerves,
yeah,
I just wing it. I don't think it's like when you're jumping off a cliff. I don't think you just go and you just do it and just see what's going to happen. So I just take a deep breath, count 1 to 10, and just do it.
Yeah, man. I mean, when I get to the venue, I don't even want to look at my notes anymore. I'm done with it. I'm here. I don't want to think about it anymore. I'm ready to go. And I just go on. And then, 10 seconds before I get up there, I go, how am I going to remember this stuff? And then because of the writing and the practicing, I always get it right. I always nail it because I'm always practicing. You got to be ready. That's why I don't look at it when I get to the venue because you're going to make yourself feel even worse. Like I don't have it.
Right.
So I don't want to look at it. But so I did a show in Baltimore. I did a 45-minute show, and I hadn't gone that long before. And my wife sat in the front with cue cards. Right. So if I got lost, each joke she would change from topic to topic. She would change the cue cards so that if I did get lost, I could just look and go, oh, yeah. You know what I mean? But you know what? I never needed to look at them. I spit it all out.
Awesome.
But it goes back to practice. It's like, trust your process. Trust what you're doing. I hate it when a guy at a paid show looks at his notes. I produce comedy shows. Nice. And I hired a guy to do a show. And the guy came up there and he was looking at us. This is a paid show. What are you doing? What are you doing? Now, I didn't embarrass him.
Of course not.
I was so angry, though, dude. I didn't say anything to him because he should have known better than that.
You didn't whisper in his ear and say apologize to the crowd?
What's that?
You didn't whisper in his ear and say apologize to the crowd? They're offended?
Come here. I need for you to say I'm sorry. You just offended my crowd.
Exactly.
Hey, Skeeta, what's going on, man? Blessings, man. I'm glad you're watching, Skeeta.
Hi,
Thanks
Skeeta.
for watching, man. That's Skeeta Jenkins. This guy is in a crime series on PureFlix called Vindication.
Nice.
And you can also see him in the movie Black Gold and Puppet Master. The guy's a really, really great actor. You should check him out. And you can see those on Amazon. But no, dude, I'm like, you don't. That's why when you go to an open mic, get in the habit of never looking at notes. Treat it like a real show.
Right.
I even hate it when guys go to open mics and they get their phone and it's like, what are you doing? So I don't know, Fasil. Speaking of that, what is your writing process like?
I write quick jokes, so it's a lot of one-liners. Like I treat others as I want to be treated, which is why I don't talk to anybody. Or my next Halloween costume is going to be a snooze button. That way women will start hitting on me. So jokes like that, I like writing. And I do some stories now. I started doing stories. My strategy out of open mic is I do look at notes because I'm just not sure if the joke's funny or not. And if it's funny, then I'm used to it. Then I'll stop looking at it and I'll try building it up. But I agree with you completely at a book show. You don't look at notes because it's insulting. You're paying this guy to not look at notes, and if the audience sees him looking at notes, they're thinking, "Oh, I can go up there and I can read my notes too," and it kills the credibility of the show. So you're right about that. I mean, yeah. So I hope that answered your question.
Oh, it did. And I think about open mics. That's what open mics are for. It's practice. So if you're looking at your notes and stuff, I mean, that's perfectly fine and acceptable because you're working on new material. I personally don't do that because I want to treat it as a real show. So I'm just in the habit of not even thinking about it.
Nice.
You know, it's like I just force myself to know my stuff front and back because it protects you in a lot of ways, like a heckler, for example. Like, you know, a person starts heckling, which I think that's how I get out of most heckling experiences that could go bad. I am so locked into my stuff that they just don't throw me off, you know, and I'll kind of look at them like, yeah, you know, but I'm on my game so hard that they just go away because you're not bothering me, man, for real. You know, I mean, people can drop dishes or a drink, you know, can go splat, you know, all over the place. And I just keep the rhythm. I might even make a joke about it or whatever, but my line, I just tend to stay on my line. But no, if you go to an open mic and you're using your phone or your notes, no question, that's what it's for. Everybody has their own method, but at a paid show, no way. Get out of here. You got to be kidding me.
I've had a person, because I produce shows too, before the COVID-19, and then there was a person. I'm like, look, you're auditioning for this bigger showcase, and this person was looking at their notes, and I'm just like, yo, you're not serious. That's what you were thinking, right? When you see this guy that you hired looking at notes.
What's that?
When that guy you hired was booked for your show, was looking at his notes, you were thinking that he didn't really care about your show, correct?
Let me put it this way. I am a clean comic. I produce clean comedy shows. And sometimes I will get guys that are not clean to perform.
Yes.
You know, so they can try, you know, to be clean. Sometime. My wife told me don't ever do that again. But anyway.
Trying to help.
But anyway, what I'm saying is the guy was so nervous about, you know, being clean. He didn't know if he could do it. But it's still not an excuse. You're getting paid to perform.
Exactly.
And I think that the intimidation factor was so strong for him that he just felt like he needed to have. At the end of the day, that doesn't matter either. You're not ready. You're not ready. Yeah, exactly. I thought you were, but you're not ready for prime time. You know, and so that's where you find out a lot about people. You know, and you know, my wife helps me out a lot with stuff like that. It's like, because sometimes I'm too trusting and forgiving of people, but it can cost you your image and your brand and what you're trying to accomplish. And there's some people you just can't deal with because they just, it's not even purposeful. They're just people that, you just got to treat like the plague. I mean, from a professional standpoint, you know what I mean?
Right.
So sometimes you learn things the hard way.
Absolutely.
What motivates you to get on stage, Fasil, and make a room full of strangers laugh?
So what motivates me to make people laugh is, to me, it's the best feeling in the world, just having that ability to make people laugh and enjoy themselves. It takes creativity. To me, it takes being analytical as well. It's similar to doing a math problem where you have two variables, and then the punchline is the solution. So those are the factors that make me want to get people laughing and just trying different things and seeing what people like. So yeah, that's a really good question you've asked.
So what is the biggest so you've been doing comedy for how long, Fasil? Is it 12 years?
So I've been doing it for 7 years, including
okay.
this pandemic.
So what is since you've started comedy, what is the biggest thing that you've learned about the craft that's made you a better comic?
So since I've started the craft, what I've learned, the biggest thing that's made me a better comic is to record your set and listen to it without judgment. Because there's some jokes that you love and they might not be as funny.
Right.
And the jokes that are not funny, you need to take out of the set or shelve it, put it aside, look at it 6 months later, see if you can improve it, and then put it back into your set. Because if you keep your unfunny jokes or tags that get little laughs, you're hurting yourself as a comic and you're not going to unleash your full potential. Because when you take those jokes out of your set, you leave more space for jokes that are funny, and that could really take your set to another level. So that's what the biggest thing that I learned from doing comedy.
Okay, yeah, I think that's pretty good advice. There's so many things. I love asking that question just to see what a comedian would say, because everyone's got so many different things that they've learned about comedy that has made them better. It's like, oh man, and you hear things that you've never heard before, like, oh man, wow, I never considered that. So. Comedy is just an amazing, craft. It's like nothing else in the arts, with singing, acting, juggling, whatever you pick anything in the art. Nothing is more challenging than taking on a whole room of strangers and trying to make them your buddy for the next 15, 20, however long you're up there. That's an amazing feat. To do that, it's like, man, you just made a room full of complete, total, absolute strangers your friend. It's like, that's an amazing feat. And honestly, a lot of times, man, you're doing comedy. There are people you wouldn't talk to in a million years in front of a Walmart.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't, but they're here. So the challenge is, man, okay, I'm going to try to make this person my buddy, and. When you're the feeling of reward to actually accomplish that is pretty amazing. So it's a daredevil act. There's no question about that. Going up there and trying it and succeeding. Now, I was talking about Miami. Have you ever done comedy outside of Miami, like in Washington, D.C.?
I have. I've done comedy outside of Florida. I've even done it in Canada once. I think DC, I did the Big Hunt. I forgot who ran that room. Yeah, that's the fun room.
Yeah, the Big Hunt is a fun room, other than that devil on the wall. But anyway, Fasil, yeah, it's a fun room. That room is run by Sean Joyce.
Yes,
and, that's one of the best rooms in DC. There's no question about that. It's always a hot room. Matter of fact, Kevin Hart did Heart of the City at the Big Hunt. I think
wow!
Came out because he traveled all over the country. I don't know if you've ever seen that on Comedy Central, the Heart of the City.
Yeah,
but that was one of the spots that he stopped through and did a set, and some of the local comics got picked to go on there. But DC is an interesting place. I've been out to San Diego. I've done comedy out there, and again, The mood's pretty light out there as well. Have you been to New York or Chicago or Philly?
Yeah, less time, less sets on stage, less time per set. So you really have to work to get the laughs. Words important, delivery is more important, but the cream rises to the top. So if you're funny, they'll really notice you in those big cities.
They will. I really say that if you're in Philadelphia, Chicago, New York, Boston, Houston, Atlanta, those kind of places, they just want to have fun. And this is not a slight to those audiences, but they are there to have a good time. So
absolutely,
and all they need for you to do is to be sure about your material. I mean, if you're bad, they're gonna let you know you're bad. But if you know what you're doing and you got your stuff together, you're probably gonna do very well. But in DC, they give you work, man. DC, they make you work for it. Like the jokes have to be written well. Like you're a good writer, obviously, but if you don't write well in DC, you're gonna bomb.
Yeah.
No matter where you go, it's not. Oh, we're having a great time. No. That wasn't funny.
Right. No, they're not.
I don't care how good of a time they're having. If your joke's not legit, you're not getting a laugh in DC, man. It ain't gonna happen. But whereas you go to, but it makes you better. I mean, we had
exactly.
Mark Lawrence came from this area. Wanda Sykes. Dave Chappelle. Oh my gosh, it's been a lot of good. What was the guy's name? He did. Oh my gosh, he's got a weird name. I can't think of his name. But anyway, there's been a lot of good comedians to come out of DC, and it's got a lot to do with the fact that they're not giving you a free laugh. You're not going to get it. Miami, I love it though. Everybody's having a great time. You got any projects coming up this week?
Yeah, I do. I'm producing a virtual show this Friday night. It's a Spill the Beans comedy show. It'll be on Zoom, or they can follow me on Instagram at Fastelicious for more information on that. I'm also performing in the Rex Theater in Pensacola this Friday night, 8 p.m. And then Saturday, I'll be performing at Comedy Zone Fort Walton Beach, 8 p.m.
Awesome stuff, everybody. We've been talking to the very funny and talented Fasil Malik from Miami, Florida. Fasil, thank you so much for being on the show, man, and have a great week, and keep doing what you're doing, man. You're a great comic.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Maurice. I really appreciate it. I had fun, and if you share the link with me, and I'll be more than happy to spread it around.
Sounds good, man. Thank you so much.